So Diddy's being hit with another lawsuit, y'all, and this time is by one of his former male employees, Rodney Jones. Rodney Jones used to be a videographer for Diddy and a producer. He allegedly said Diddy has threatened him, harassed him, and drugged him.
We just gonna call this shit Surviving Diddy because, baby, I don't have another title for this. Say what? Diddy hit with a SA assault lawsuit from a former male employee. Yes, says Diddy would touch his private areas. Oh, and that part.
Is this Diddy's way of changing the conversation? The internet has been buzzing non-stop about the latest rumors and jokes surrounding him, and now people are picking apart every detail of the situation. Instead of those discussions slowing down, they seem to be getting even louder every day. Now Diddy is pushing back against his male accuser, Lil Rod. Lil Rod was the first man to file a major lawsuit against Diddy, and now Diddy is reportedly asking for access to Lil Rod's medical records. Sir, that's quite a move. One thing you can say about Diddy is that he never seems to shy away from making a bold play, and he's clearly got people backing his corner too. I'm trying to figure out where this strategy is headed, so let's look at what's being reported. Here's the headline: Diddy to male accuser. I'm not talking about Cuba Gooding. Turn over your medical records. Talk about switching the focus. While everyone has been discussing one controversy, this latest legal move has people asking a whole new set of questions. The drama just keeps stacking up, and every new development seems to spark another round of debate online. I'm serious? Anyway, the report says that music producer Rodney Lil Rod Jones, who is suing Diddy over misconduct allegations, has allegedly failed to provide certain medical records, according to reports. Now here's my question. Has Diddy handed over every record and document people have asked about from his side? Because there are still plenty of questions floating around, and a lot of people remain confused about the whole situation, according to court documents. But before I get back to the article, hear me out.
And he said Diddy made him allegedly hire sex workers for him and made him engage into the sex. He also said Diddy allegedly made him watch a video of Stevie J being intimate with another man.
The reason I bring this up is because there have been a lot of public discussions about Diddy's past lifestyle and personal choices. Over the years, stories and claims about his behavior have generated nonstop headlines, and people have debated what impact that may have had on different parts of his life. That's why some observers are questioning why the focus is suddenly shifting towards someone else's records instead of addressing the broader issues being discussed. Think about it for a second. When someone has spent years surrounded by controversy, wild rumors, and non-stop public scrutiny, people naturally start asking questions. That's what makes this latest legal back and forth so interesting. Instead of clearing things up, every new filing seems to create another layer of mystery, and the online conversation just keeps getting louder. Now, I'm not making claims about secret properties, hidden stories, or any of the wild rumors people throw around online. What I am saying is this: out of all the issues being argued in this case, the sudden focus on medical records has definitely caught people's attention. That's all I'm saying. A lot of observers are wondering why that topic has become such a major part of the legal fight. According to court documents obtained by TMZ, the dispute centers around records and information being requested during the discovery process. Diddy argues that he shouldn't have to produce certain documents or answer specific questions requested by Rodney Jones, describing some of the discovery demands as excessive and improper. That's a pretty strong position to take in the middle of an already high-profile case. The report goes on to say that Diddy claims Rodney was supposed to authorize access to certain medical records back in November, but that the paperwork provided allegedly did not comply with privacy regulations related to those records. Wait a second, so that's the issue being argued here? Depending on how you look at it, some people may see this as a legitimate legal disagreement, while others think the media coverage is making the conflict seem even more dramatic than it already is. Let's read that again for a second. The report says Rodney was supposed to authorize a release and provide access to certain medical records back in November, but the release that was provided allegedly did not meet privacy regulations. So let me make sure I'm understanding this correctly.
More allegations are coming out against Sean Diddy Combs, and if they're true, they are absolutely vile. Diddy's former producer Rodney Jones filed a lawsuit on Monday stating that Diddy sexually assaulted him, groomed him, and drugged him all while he was working for Diddy back in 2022 and 23.
The disagreement isn't just about the records themselves, it's also about how the request was structured and what information could be accessed. Some people looking at this situation might think the original request was broader than Rodney was comfortable with. In that scenario, it's possible he was willing to provide records related to the case but not open the door to unrelated personal information. If that's what happened, you can see why there would be a dispute. Legal battles like this often turn into arguments over exactly how much information each side is entitled to receive. The filing also states that Diddy objects to answering certain questions involving Cuba Gooding Jr., whom Rodney has mentioned in connection with allegations tied to events on a yacht. According to the report, Diddy's legal team argues that seeking information about the alleged actions or statements of third parties is improper. That's where some critics see a contradiction. They wonder why one side is pushing back on certain requests, while still seeking extensive information from the other side. That's the debate people are having as this case continues to unfold. Let me say this because I honestly find it pretty funny. I'm not making any claims about Cuba Gooding Jr. or his personal life, and I'm definitely not suggesting anything behind the scenes. What I am saying is that we've all seen those celebrity photos where somebody walks out of an event looking like they've experienced every emotion possible at the exact same time. Happy, shocked, confused, excited, exhausted, and totally caught off guard all in one picture. Those paparazzi shots can be wild. That's really what brings me to the bigger point. Over the years, there have been a lot of public discussions about Diddy's behavior, his decisions, and the controversies that followed him. At various times, explanations have been offered about why certain things happened or why certain actions were taken. But when those explanations keep changing, people naturally start asking more questions. And that's where the debate gets interesting. If someone says they weren't fully aware of what was happening around them during certain periods of their life, critics are going to ask how much weight should be given to their version of events. You can see why people would be skeptical. When major controversies play out in public and serious allegations are being discussed, many observers want clear answers and accountability rather than explanations that raise even more questions. That's why so many people continue to examine every new detail that comes out of this case. There he goes again, trying to distance himself from the person people saw in those widely discussed videos and reports. The message seems to be, "That's not who I am anymore," or "I don't remember things the way they're being described." But for a lot of people following this story, those explanations aren't automatically convincing. That's why the public debate keeps going strong. At the same time,
Specifically, Jones said that Combs would touch his genitals and anus and believed that he was being groomed for a sexual relationship with Diddy. He also says Diddy made him watch 52-year-old Stevie J have intercourse with another man and included pictures of that encounter in the lawsuit.
people often point out that memory, judgment, and behavior can be complicated topics, especially when someone talks about periods of their life they claim were filled with poor decisions. That's why many observers question how much any single explanation should settle the matter. The conversation becomes less about words and more about actions and evidence. According to TMZ, Diddy has denied all allegations of wrongdoing in the case and has described the lawsuit as an attempt to obtain money. But here's what some critics bring up. They point to previous situations where strong denials were made before additional information later became public. Because of that history, some people are looking at the current statements with a more skeptical eye. Now, I'm not saying someone is telling the truth or not telling the truth. What I am saying is that when public statements and later developments don't seem to line up perfectly, people start asking tougher questions. That's just how these high-profile controversies work. Every new claim, denial, and court filing gets examined from every possible angle, and the scrutiny only gets more intense as the story continues to unfold. Maybe that's why Diddy has been talking about making changes in his life and turning over a new leaf. People online have been reacting to every statement, every interview, and every headline connected to this story. No matter what he says, it seems like the internet is ready, with 1,000 opinions waiting to go. According to the lawsuit, Rodney Jones made a series of allegations involving inappropriate behavior, uncomfortable interactions, and conduct that he says crossed personal boundaries. The filing also claims that Diddy frequently behaved in ways that Rodney found unprofessional. Those accusations have become a major part of the ongoing legal battle, and Diddy has denied wrongdoing. What's interesting is that many of the claims in this lawsuit sound similar to concerns that have been raised in other public controversies surrounding Diddy over the years. That's one reason the case has attracted so much attention. When multiple allegations follow similar themes, people naturally start comparing the different stories and looking for patterns. The report also states that Rodney is seeking $30 million in damages. And here's the part that stands out to me. Whatever expectations Rodney may have originally had while working on the Love album, this situation has clearly grown into something much bigger than a dispute over a music project. The legal fight, the headlines, and the public scrutiny have taken the story to an entirely different level. Let's just say, for the sake of discussion, that the amount being disputed was under $100,000. A lot of people have pointed out that.
He also says in a separate instance, Diddy encouraged his girlfriend's cousin, 30-year-old Young Miami, to sexually assault him while Diddy watched on. He says in another example, Diddy forced him to drink a shot of something that was laced, and he woke up the next morning at 4 a.m. with a prostitute next to him.
Compared to the kind of wealth Diddy was believed to have accumulated over the years, that figure would seem relatively small. Some observers have even argued that if compensation was a source of frustration, it might have been resolved long before things escalated into a major legal battle. By the way, I actually interviewed Rodney Jones on my channel, so be sure to check that out if you haven't already. It gave some additional context to his perspective and how he viewed the situation. Looking back, it's interesting to see how much bigger this story has become compared to where it started. Some critics have suggested that disputes like this can grow when people feel overlooked, underappreciated, or unheard. Whether that's what happened here is up for debate, but it's clear that the disagreement eventually expanded far beyond music and business matters. Meanwhile, Diddy's attorney pushed back strongly against the claims. According to the statement, Little Rod is nothing more than a liar who filed a $30 million lawsuit shamelessly looking for undeserved payday. His reckless name dropping about events that are pure fiction and simply did not happen is nothing more than a transparent attempt to garner headlines. That's a strong response, and it shows just how aggressively both sides are contesting the allegations. And that's really where this situation starts getting complicated. On one side, you've got Rodney making serious allegations and asking the court to take them seriously. On the other side, you've got Diddy's team saying the entire lawsuit is built on claims they believe are false. That's a massive gap between the two positions, and it's exactly why this fight isn't being settled through headlines alone. What's interesting is how much of the battle now seems to be focused on documents, records, requests, and legal procedures, rather than dramatic public statements. Every time a new court filing appears, both sides try to frame it as a win for their argument. One side says certain information is important, while the other side argues that request goes too far. It's become a back-and-forth chess match playing out in public view. And let's be honest, that's why people keep following this story. Every week there's another filing, another response, another claim, and another round of reactions online. Just when it feels like the conversation is slowing down, something new drops and everyone starts analyzing it again. For now, though, the biggest question remains the same. What evidence will ultimately hold up when everything is examined through the legal process? Because at the end of the day, opinions, rumors, and social media debates can only go so far. The courts are going to be looking at facts, records, testimony, and documentation. And that's where the real battle is being fought right now. And while all of that is playing out, another thing people have noticed is how quickly public opinion can shift whenever a new detail surfaces.
He then brings Cuba Gooding Jr. into it, saying that Diddy introduced him to Gooding on a yacht back in 2022 and that Gooding had inappropriately touched him as well. Rodney Jones is seeking $30 million in damages and had started a GoFundMe to help raise money to sue Diddy. He raised $1,400 of the $50,000 he was asking for.
One court filing comes out, and suddenly everyone thinks one side has the upper hand. Then a response gets filed, and the conversation swings right back the other way. It's been a constant cycle of claims, counterclaims, and non-stop speculation. What's also fascinating is how much attention every legal move is getting. Normally, discovery disputes and procedural arguments wouldn't dominate headlines, but this case is different. Even routine filings are being picked apart by commentators, content creators, and social media users looking for clues about what might happen next. At the same time, both sides appear determined to defend their positions as aggressively as possible. Nobody seems interested in backing down or giving the other side any easy victories. Every statement is carefully worded, every filing is scrutinized, and every development becomes part of a much larger public narrative. That's why the story keeps generating so much discussion. People aren't just watching the allegations themselves, they're watching how the entire legal battle unfolds in real time. Who requests what, who objects to what, and how the court responds could end up being just as important as the claims that started the dispute in the first place. For now, the spotlight remains firmly on the courtroom filings, and it doesn't look like that attention is fading anytime soon. And another thing that's adding fuel to the discussion is the sheer number of people connected to this story. Every time a new filing references another individual, another business relationship, or another past event, the internet immediately starts trying to connect all the dots. Some of those connections may turn out to be important, while others could end up being distractions. That's what makes following a case like this so tricky. What's becoming clear is that this isn't just a disagreement over one specific claim anymore. The scope of the conversation has expanded far beyond where it started. Now people are looking at professional relationships, past public statements, business dealings, and years of history to try to understand the bigger picture. At the same time, courts don't operate the same way social media does. Online, people can debate theories all day long, but legal proceedings focus on evidence, testimony, and what can actually be supported through the process. That's an important distinction because a lot of the public conversation tends to move much faster than the legal system itself. So while headlines continue to grab attention, the real developments are happening through motions, responses, and court filings behind the scenes.
After all this transpired, Diddy's lawyer did speak to TMZ and say this. So attorney Sean Hawley told TMZ Little Rod, aka Rodney Jones, is nothing more than a liar who filed a $30 billion lawsuit shamelessly looking for an underserved payday. His reckless name dropping about events that are pure fiction and simply did not happen is nothing more than a transparent attempt to garner headlines.
Every new document adds another piece to the puzzle, and both sides are working hard to shape how those pieces are viewed. For now, the case remains a moving target, and each new development seems to open up an entirely new round of questions rather than providing clear answers. And that's probably the biggest reason this case continues to dominate conversations online. Every time it seems like people have a handle on what's happening, a new filing, a new argument, or a new report changes the focus completely. One week everyone is talking about allegations. The next week, they're debating legal strategy, and then suddenly the discussion shifts to evidence and procedural disputes. The story keeps evolving. What's especially interesting is how both sides appear to be fighting on multiple fronts at once. There's the legal battle taking place in court, but there's also the battle over public perception. Every statement released, every response filed, and every headline published gets analyzed by thousands of people trying to figure out what it means. That's a level of scrutiny most cases never receive. Another thing worth paying attention to is how long these disputes can take to fully play out. A lot of people expect instant answers, but major legal cases rarely move that fast. There are motions, objections, document requests, deadlines, and countless other steps that happen before bigger decisions are made. That's why patience becomes such a huge factor in situations like this. For now, both sides seem committed to standing their ground, and neither appears ready to ease up. As more information becomes available through the legal process, people will continue watching closely to see which claims gain support, which arguments face challenges, and what new developments emerge next. One thing is certain, the conversation surrounding this case isn't slowing down anytime soon. And as this case keeps moving forward, something else is becoming impossible to ignore. The amount of attention surrounding every single development has created a situation where even minor updates can turn into major headlines.
We have overwhelming, indisputable proof that his claims are complete lies. Our attempts to share this proof with Mr. Jones' attorney, Tyrone Blackburn, have been ignored, as Mr. Blackburn refuses to return our calls. We will address these outlandish allegations in court and take all appropriate action against those who make them. So, we'll see what happens, y'all.
A routine court filing drops, and within hours, people are debating it across social media, podcasts, and news platforms. That's how closely this story is being watched right now. What's also standing out is the growing battle over credibility. Both sides want the public and ultimately the court to view their version of events as the more reliable one. That's why so much effort is being spent challenging claims, questioning timelines, and disputing specific details. In high-profile cases, perception can become almost as important as the arguments themselves. At the same time, legal disputes aren't usually won by who generates the biggest headline. They're won through evidence, documentation, witness testimony, and the ability to support claims under scrutiny. That's why many legal analysts say the most important developments may not be the loudest ones. Sometimes the biggest turning points come from information buried deep inside court records rather than from viral social media discussions. for people following along. That creates an interesting situation. There's no shortage of opinions, theories, and reactions flying around every day, but the actual legal process continues moving at its own pace. As more filings are submitted and more responses are exchanged, the picture may become clearer or it could become even more complicated. Either way, every new development seems to add another chapter to a story that is still very much unfolding. And if you've been following this from the beginning, you've probably noticed another pattern. Every time one question seems close to being answered, two more questions pop up right behind it. That's part of what has kept people glued to this story for so long. Instead of narrowing the conversation, many of the recent developments have expanded it even further. What's especially interesting is how much attention is now being placed on timeline. People are looking at when certain events allegedly happened, when complaints were filed, when responses were submitted, and how all of those dates line up with public statements made over the years. In cases like this, timelines can become incredibly important because they help establish context and can either strengthen or challenge competing claims. There's also the issue of consistency. Whenever a case reaches this level of public attention, every statement gets revisited. Interviews, public appearances, legal filings, and past comments all get examined side by side. Supporters of each side point to details they believe help their argument, while critics look for contradictions or unanswered questions. It's become a constant tug of war over what information matters most. Meanwhile, the legal process continues moving forward, regardless of the noise surrounding it. The headlines may change from week to week, but the core dispute remains unresolved. That's why so many observers are watching the next round of filings so closely. They're looking for concrete developments rather than speculation, and they want to see whether future court proceedings bring more clarity or create an entirely new set of debates.
It says Rodney Jones is a former producer and videographer for Diddy and is alleging that Mr. Combs touched him on multiple occasions. Diddy would walk around naked, grab Jones' areas, and he'd call it horseplay. Sounds like boy. He also said that he received multiple advances from Diddy. Now, Jones is saying that they never got down and got with the good stuff, but he still feels like a lot of his advances may have been uncomfortable.
Again, that's the question a lot of people keep coming back to. Diddy's legal team has strongly denied the allegations and challenged many of the claims being made against him. At the same time, critics point out that there have been previous situations where public statements were later followed by new information that changed how people viewed the story. Because of that, many observers are looking at every new development with a much more critical eye. When it comes to Rodney Jones, there are plenty of people who believe his claims deserve serious consideration, while others remain firmly on Diddy's side. That's why this case continues to generate so much debate online. Depending on who you ask, the same court filing can be interpreted in completely different ways. The divide in public opinion couldn't be much bigger. And that brings us back to one of the major points being argued throughout this legal battle. If one side is requesting records, documents, and additional information, many people are asking whether both sides should be held to the same standard of transparency. That's a question that keeps surfacing as the case moves forward, and it's likely to remain part of the discussion for quite some time. At the end of the day, the legal process will continue to play out, more filings will be submitted, and more information will likely become public. Until then, people are going to keep analyzing every headline, every statement, and every court document looking for answers. This story has already produced countless twists, and it doesn't look like the conversation is ending anytime soon. Let me know what you think about everything we've covered. Do you think the latest developments change anything, or are you waiting for more information before making up your mind? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with anyone following this story. Also, comment below so I know you made it all the way to the end. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.